Hello, everyone. My name is Penny Brandt-Roy, and I have a business called Orchid Senior Advisors. I help people find senior communities for their loved ones, usually their family. And I really spend a lot of time with my clients trying to get to know the family and get to know the senior so that I can make good recommendations. And so many times I will be talking to families and they will describe their loved one and they will say, oh, they're not a joiner. They're not really looking for friends. They don't really, they like to be alone. They don't like to be out with people. And so what I do when I get that is I start walking them through what was their life like pre-retirement. Turns out they worked. They were out with clients and coworkers interacting with them all day. They'd come home. They had a family. They'd interact with their family. Even if they weren't hugely into big hobbies or anything else, they were usually getting out to church or with the kids' activities and the other parents, HOAs, things like that. So as it turns out, they weren't alone all the time. And it's just in retirement that happened because those easy opportunities for interactions kind of just disappeared and they didn't really have the skill sets to go out and get them. So, what I try to explain to clients is you may not be the life of the party, but everybody needs socialization. You need it like you need air and you need water. And our brains just really, really need that. Um, so, what kinds of socialization and how much do you need? And that's really what this talk is about today, to talk about how even people who aren't retired, if you find yourself, the kids have moved on or you've had some life changes and you're not getting out as much, what do you need to be thinking about to really work your brain and feed it the way that it needs to be worked? So it's not just the presence of other people that you need. One of the first areas that you really need to make sure you've got in place are strong social interactions. And what this does is it's basically a group of people that helps you feel like you belong and provides you with with some emotional connection. Think neighbors, people around you that you see every day, people that you live near. But this isn't just somebody that you wave hi to. So it's got to be somebody that you're having conversations with, that they know something about you, that they know what's going on in your life, that you're having a connection with. So when I talk to people about their parents living alone in their house, there is a difference between the neighbors that, you see them leaving their house with their kids and you wave hi versus the ladies that you go and have coffee with every morning. So that's the strong social networks. The second category is active social engagement. Think of this as coming in contact with people you don't know well. The reason this is important is that your brain works differently when you're trying to communicate with somebody you don't know versus somebody you know well. When you're working with somebody you know well, you have a shorthand. You have shared experiences. There are things you don't need to refer to because you both know what you're talking about. When you meet somebody new, you have to communicate in a different way, and you have to really think about the other person listening to you. What are they hearing and how are they going to interpret that? So it works your brain in a different way. So also very important. I find with seniors, a great way for them to get this is through volunteering. And if you can find the right volunteer organizations that gets you in contact with new people all the time, that's great. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Cognitive stimulation is another piece, and think of this as learning something new. So taking a class, taking an art class, taking even an exercise class, things that are getting your brain working to do something new. Book clubs are another really good way to do this. You talk about a new book with a group of friends. You have to really think about what you liked, what made sense, what you didn't like, that kind of thing. Gets your brain working much like it did when you were a student. Even learning new card games can be a great way to fulfill this need. So, and then the last one is emotional support. That's probably the one we think about the most, but that's where you have deep connections with people. And most importantly, you know they're going to be there for you when you need them. So, a strong family support system. Some people have this through friends as well, but there's a psychological need for that, and it weighs on people no matter what they're doing if they feel like they're alone and vulnerable if something bad happens to them. So now we know what we need. How often do we need it? I used to tell people, make sure your parents are getting out 3 times a week. I don't actually believe that anymore. Seeing the research now, we're beginning to see you need the socialization much like you need food. You need different kinds of socialization, just like you need different kinds of food, and you need it quite often. So some of these things you could get a few times a week, but some of them you need constantly. And so what I find with my clients is that we kind of lower the bar for people's social lives once they retire. And we need to not do that. We need to keep a high expectation for how they're getting out and getting with other people. And if that isn't happening, you got to make a change. You got to push them to make a change. It isn't easy. I help people find communities, senior communities, because that is a very easy way to get all of these things in place. You go to dinner with people every night. It kind of forces you out and forces you to get connections. It's not the only way to get it, but the senior needs to be motivated and willing to get out there and put some work into getting this. But it really is important. Why is it important? Well, in the last year, we've had a number of studies come out that had showed an amazing miracle cure for dementia. And it isn't a medicine, it is something that we've known about pretty much the whole time. Exercise, diet, and most importantly, socialization are proven to actually be able, in some cases, to dial back the effects of dementia and Alzheimer's and help reduce or slow down the onset of them. So there were a number of studies that came out that put people through strict regimens with their diet, exercise, and socialization. And people literally saw they went from mid-stage dementia to early stage dementia. There was one lady that described it saying she felt like she was coming out of a fog. And it wasn't a medicine. It was all prevention type things that they were doing. Is it better to get to that space and have to try to dial back dementia? No. Get the stuff in place early, and then your quality of life is going to be higher. So that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions about what you need in socialization?
Do you have any connections in Carroll County specifically?
In Carroll County, like to communities? I haven't worked in Carroll County too much, but I'd be willing to look into there and work on that.
Can you briefly touch on the differences between the introvert and extrovert when you talk about socialization?
Absolutely. So what we find with introverts and extroverts is they They like different types of socialization. Extroverts like to be in groups like this, splitting among lots of people and having lots of connections like that. Introverts really need less connections, smaller groups, things like that. They still need those connections, but they're in different settings. Yeah.
Mine's more of a comment. My mom had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and it was a very slippery slope. But everything that you said about the diet, the exercise, the socialization, and having a sense of purpose,
Yep.
giving them a job or a task where they feel needed is huge for them. When she passed, my stepdad, who's much younger than her, they both lie about their ages.
Yeah.
He went into such a depression because for 5 years he was her caregiver. Other than the 1 weekend of the year that I went and gave him respite so he could go see his family, he was there all the time. And so anyway, he went into a very deep depression. I was just like ready to go with her. And so I, literally drug him back to the church where he was very active as a volunteer before. And now it's so funny because when I call and say, "Hey, I'm coming to town, let's do this. Oh, I don't know. I got to check my schedule at the church or at the food pantry." He literally volunteers 5 days a week.
Fantastic.
And it's like he has such a sense of purpose now. I tell the family all the time, he's going to outlive all of us, and don't worry about inheriting anything. But yeah, I mean, it's that staying active and then having I call it the give back effect. When you're giving back and someone is expecting you to do something, it's amazing what your brain can do to help with depression and to be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, absolutely. Sense of purpose really is an integral element of quality of life. It's something you can use as a measurement for quality of life. I didn't touch on that because sense of purpose almost always comes with good socialization. So just like you say, at a minimum, people are expecting you to be there, that your friends need you and want you to do something. Now, if you do volunteering or that type of thing, that will obviously also give you a great sense of purpose, but there are a lot of ways to get that.
And I think, especially for introverts, you know, he's very introverted. So to say, go to church, meet new people, whatever, no, I'm good right here. I'll go to mass on Sundays. But the socialization that you get when you go volunteer is like it sucks them in. They don't even realize that they're socializing. They're being helpful, but they get the wonderful benefit.
Right. Yeah. And I find at senior communities, like I said, one of the great things about independent living communities is that people are forced to go to meals together. So, and they don't generally have, they're not going to seat you alone. They have big tables. They're going to seat you with another group. When you get there, you're going to try out a few different groups, and eventually you're going to just gravitate to the one that feels the most like your people. And that's where I find a lot of introverts really kind of start to blossom as they get out, they make those connections, they decide, oh, okay, maybe we'll just the two of us will go watch a movie in the movie room, later, or we'll go do a puzzle or something like that. So you don't have to be in the big, happy hours and things like that they throw. You can find your opportunities. Um,
Yeah, I just have a question that's more like a comment as well, because as an introvert, you wouldn't know it, but I totally am. Um, I before I started getting out and networking and getting to know all you lovely ladies and people, I it seems like it happens earlier in life. Like we don't need to be seniors to start socializing, but the depression can happen early.
Right.
COVID with the shutdown, a lot of people were depressed.
Yeah.
But it just seems like I'm happier getting to know people
Yeah.
and network with my community. So I think it's valid for all
I think
ages.
from a mental health profession, that's I was also going to say that starting at any age is the best age. And for those of us that have children, you have more of a life than just your children's social schedule, and
Yep.
try to make the time. And that's part of the reason why I love this this group so much is that everybody kind of finds their people, and we kind of do things outside of this. And I would say I'm more of an extrovert, but I did get into an area of a time in my life where like I stepped back and I wasn't social. But I have been happier now in the last couple of years getting to know all the ladies in the group and actually getting out and doing stuff for myself. I'd be a little busy and crazy and hectic and tired and all over the place, but I'm happier now than I've ever been. So, and then I look at my mom, who both my parents when they retired, I thought that they were either going to kill each other or get divorced because that's all they did was work and kids and stuff like that. No, instead they were book club, newcomers club, the Habitat for Humanity. One day I opened up a closet in their house and I was like, oh good Lord, why did I just open that closet? It was nothing but costumes in there. And I was like, why are there? I'm like, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. But they have like costume parties or whatever it is that they do. I don't want to know.
That's great.
So socializing is very important at all of our ages.
Yeah. Sure.
My dad is definitely an introvert, and he retired about a year ago. I cannot get him to go meet new people. Like, he's terrified. It's never been him. He's only ever worked his whole life and been with his family. I can't convince him. Like, he rides his bike, but he's not around anyone else. So he socializes with me and my sister and her family, and I don't know what to do to encourage him. He doesn't see the importance in it, and he's scared.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
It's tough with men. They are not given the tools like we are to go out and meet new people. I think so. That's usually one barrier. If has he been living by himself or is he married? So living by yourself, very quickly depression can set in, and that makes it also that much harder to get out. I'd be happy to strategize with you one-on-one, but some things that I think about are, if you can find a group and then maybe even go with him or just set it up so that they're expecting him. I did that with my own mom when she was in her early 60s. She had a large stroke, had to retire, and I noticed that she was at home alone. So I called the museum that was down the street from her and said, do you need volunteers? And they said yes. And I made an appointment and I called my mom up and I was like, they're expecting you at, 2:00 on Tuesday. So
my dad would have been like, and?
Yeah.
Like, what does he do for a profession, or what does he like to do? Like, does he like yard work? Does he like to build engines?
He just rides his bike all the time.
So
what did he do before riding a bike?
He always has time. He doesn't do that. We're like, I can't figure out what it is I can get him plugged into.
Yeah, I would say.
Can he still ride his bike?
Oh yeah.
There's tons like
Yeah.
been involved with other bike riders, or you try that? Or does he just like to ride his bike?
I'm like, hey, go do this, and he's just like.
You may be dealing with depression.
Like, go with us. So find a bike riding club and get a bike and be like, hey, we're gonna go ride up. If he already likes hanging out with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Go with him and just make sure he's not a ton of people, because I'm an introvert too, and I 100% love just being at home by myself. But I have noticed since COVID, because COVID was my jam. Like, I loved it, but I have noticed that not having the socialization, but I don't like big groups like this. You put me in, you tell me I have to go do something like this, even if it's something I enjoy doing and it's this many people I don't know, my ass is gonna sit in the corner. So find something where there's maybe only 4 or 5 other riders that are going, and then it's you two, so that it's something small, because introverts, like Penny said, we like smaller, intimate groups with deeper conversations, and it's not just, oh, how's this guy, or how's the kids? We want deeper, like, philosophical conversations, and we need something that's going to increase our energy. If we have a big group that's raw, it's going to decrease his energy, and he's not going to ever want to go back. So find something with biking maybe, or like a triathlon training. I have kids.
He likes his grandkids.
Well, I was thinking like helping like little people learn how to ride bikes because there is like statistics with older people and younger people that's a really good thing.
That's a fun idea.
So
Yeah, I might go like it, but I can't keep up. My butt hurts after
That's a great excuse to get him out with other people then.
You're like, bye, Dad. My butt hurts. I'm leaving you.
but see, that's all you have. You start them off.
Yeah,
And then you leave them.
Yeah.
Like, keep going.
Yep. That's a great suggestion. Any other questions? Oh, Susan.
Not a question again, but when you were saying that about the introverts and extroverts, so I had a self-imposed. I was going to stay home from January 2nd to March 30th and declutter my house from my attic to the basement because we've lost several loved ones lately, and the biggest complaint that their family had is mom left so much crap and they just hauled it off in dumpsters. And so I got through the attic and in January, and then it was like stir crazy. It was like I can't stay home for 2 more months. So I'm doing it, pacing myself instead of like 22 networking events a month. I did that in October. I want to do more like maybe 2 a week. So I'm scaling back and still doing the layers of the hours of day instead of being like 10 hours organizing. But yeah, as an extrovert, yeah, the thought of staying home for 2 more months and only seeing the dog, the cat, and my family, I had to get out of the house. So, hey, y'all.
Well, we're glad that you're back.
Yeah.
We missed you. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you, Penny, very much.